If there is a brownie or a household spirit in this house, please listen to me right now and knock once so I know you're here. Fuck off, that's not real. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Dolls and Pop. Welcome back for another episode of Crafting and Cryptids. This week we're on episode 5 and it's been a journey. Let me tell you that, it's been a journey. I've learnt things, I started with one thing and it ended up going to another, and the whole episode layout it changed, it spiraled, it was great, I loved it, and I'm here to share it with you. Now this week, I am actually going to need somebody's help. I'm going to need somebody with knowledge of Chinese legends, folklores or fairy tales to help me find the information that I've been looking for. So if that's you, please watch this video and please leave a comment, and I'm not even going to make you wait till the end to find out what it is, because we're going to have to jump right into the video with that to let you know how all this started. Today's episode is about friendly household spirits, which have different names in different places of the world, but in the UK they are generally referred to as brownies. They are helpful spirits or entities that live in the house and will do jobs and help out if you look after them, and they are in lots of folklore and fairy tales from all around the world, but that's not how it started. So the inspiration for this episode started with this book. I have a lot of books, really like books, who doesn't? This book is called A Field Guide to Demons, Vampires and Fallen Angels and Other Subversive Spirits by Carol K. Mack and Dinah Mack. And it has in it a story that really stuck with me, and it's about kitchen fairies. And apparently this originates from China, but I can't find anything else on it. I went online because I was going to do a whole episode about kitchen fairies, but I just kept coming up with absolutely nothing. So if you know about kitchen fairies, then let me know, okay? I really need to know. The book says that kitchen fairies are large, industrious creatures that are mostly invisible, and people sometimes want them in the house because when they come into the house, they clean up. And that's good, isn't it? Everybody wants a nice clean house. And apparently, how you would get kitchen fairies, or how you would attract kitchen fairies, is to take the corpses of 2 different types of animals and bury them at a crossroads, digging them up at a later date and turning them into incense, which is a bit gross really, isn't it? And you wouldn't see the kitchen fairies to know that they'd arrived, but your house would be super clean, so that's how you'd know they were there. But kitchen fairies do not work for free. In fact, every year they expect to be allowed to eat 1 person. So if you had somebody that you wanted to get rid of them, I'm sure that you could just give them to the kitchen fairies. But if you wanted to get around that, you could tell them that they'd broke a dish or some pottery and that they actually owe the owner and they'll have to wait till next year. And apparently this would work like quite a few times because they weren't very bright, bless them. Not very bright fairies. But the problem came when people wanted to get rid of the kitchen fairies, because they couldn't get rid of the kitchen fairies they had to marry them off to a new owner. And the way that they would do this is they would prepare little packets with the ashes of incense and some silver, and they would leave it by the side of the road, and the next person would show up, pick it up unwittingly, and boom, now you've got kitchen fairies and your house is clean. Oh wow, that's such a massive problem, isn't it? I wonder if I can get kitchen fairies. There's also an example of one of the stories in the book, and basically it goes like this. There was an old man and he was travelling along the side of the road and he saw one of these packets, but he knew what it meant. But also he was a bit greedy and he wanted the money, without the trouble of the kitchen fairies. So he picked up the packet, and when the kitchen fairy appeared, he pushed it into a river, ran like Joe Fuck, and just took all the money and ran. And years and years and years later, he was somewhere else and he was travelling, and he sat down at the side of the road and he was talking to somebody about what he did, but the kitchen fairy had never left that area and it was nearby, and it jumped on him and it ate him, as all good stories go. You get eaten. That's what you get for fucking around. But I have searched high and low on Google and I have found not even a sniff of it. So, if you are familiar with Chinese stories, let me know. I need to know. It's doing my head in. I've mentioned it like 15 times already. So I was looking at what brownies are called all over the world. Now, they're usually the same description, but there's different types. It's generally agreed that they're all belonging to the same family, but, you know, some of them are big, some of them are small. Most of them are described as small, hairy men. Sometimes they're women, but it's very, very rare. And they're usually said to be quite ugly. They live in people's houses and they're invisible, and they'll help out with household tasks and things as long as you leave stuff for them, like a saucer of milk or sweets or cake or things like that. In pagan times, before Christianity, people used to worship them and they used to build little things, you know, little homes for them, little shrines for them, and they used to leave things on the hearth, like on the fireplace, next to the fire, so that when they go to bed, the entity could, you know, have its reward. Now, sometimes they're classed as fairies, but they're not really fairies. They're like more of a belonging to the goblin family, kind of halfway in between. And most of them, most species, can be highly mischievous and can turn very nasty if they're not looked after properly, as, you know, most things would. Now, lucky for you lot, you're going to hear me butcher some foreign words that I don't know, but I'm trying my best, okay? So just bear with me, I'm doing my best. In Poland, we have the Domowitch, which is like a larger version of a brownie, and it's like a hairy, wrinkled old man, the grandfather spirit of the house. And same as before, gifts would be left, the house would be looked after, protected, and would prosper. In Slavic folklore, there is the Domovic, which is basically the same type of spirit. In England and Scotland, we have brownies, hob, lubbekins, and loblie by the fire. In Wales, it is known as bwca, and it is said to help out on farms and help dairymaids with the jobs. In Finland, there's haltia, and in Sweden, there is also a spirit called tomte. In Germany, the spirit is known as Bootskat, Heinz, Heinzelmann, Polterkater, or Katermann. And there is many German tales and even a statue in Cologne which commemorates one of the best loved fairy tales. The people of Cologne never had to do any work because they'd just go to sleep at night time and they'd wake up the next day with it magically done. And everybody knew it was these elves, fairies, goblins type creatures. And they just accepted that they'd never see them. Except for one woman, a tailor's wife, and one day she put dried peas on the floor in an attempt to catch them and be able to see them. And they were so mad that they just left. And everyone had to do the work from then on, and they couldn't be lazy anymore. There's also another German entity that lives in people's homes, and this one is called a Waldschrat. In Switzerland, there's Jack of the Ball. Families would leave cream out for him for doing his work, and he would look after and protect the house, bring it prosperity. In Spain, there's a similar entity called a trastoliu, and that is another kind of brownie-like creature, except it's black, and it's got long black hair, green eyes, and twisted fangs. But it sounds pretty scary, but it was actually helpful unless angered. In Italy, there's also a similar creature called a Municello, and he's like a little monk, a little teeny tiny monk guy, and he lives in wine cellars, cleans up, and he brings good fortune and good luck, but he also wants to drink some of your wine. In the Philippines and also in some parts of Spain, there's a creature called a duende, and it is a small goblin elf-like creature, and they usually wear a red hat, which could be, you know, a similar creature to a red cap, but these would also come into the home. It was believed that many of these entities on this list, they lived in natural spaces outside until they were invited into the home, and some people would want them in the home. In fact, there's so many different species of house elf, goblin, fairy creatures that it probably would be impossible for me to get through them all. But if you have a creature like this in the country that you're from, please leave a comment below, because I want to know. I want to look them up and go down a little rabbit hole, and I want to know what they're called in your country. So then my whole thing just kind of spiraled and went down a rabbit hole, because then I was like, ooh, brownies. Okay, kobolds, spirits, house spirits. Oh my god, I have a house spirit. And then it went to, oh my god, I need to make a house for my house spirit to let them know that they're loved. So that's probably going to be an upcoming crafty project. Okay, so let me tell you the story of how I think I might have a brownie. Now, this is going to make sense to you because I've just told you all that information, but you have to realise that this has been happening to me for quite some time, and it was only when I was researching this episode that everything kind of like clicked. Now, I am a spiritual person. I'm highly into the occult and I'm highly spiritual, and I believe in like lots of stuff really. With a healthy dose of skepticism along the way. I moved into where I currently live in about 2015. So this has been going on for quite some time. And nothing bad's happened, but since I've moved here, lots of people, me, my daughter, my mum, and anybody who visits my house has spotted this weird little entity. And we all just refer to it as ghost cat, because we just thought it was the ghost of a cat. That just seemed the most likely explanation that we all came up with. People have spotted it running down my hallway, people have spotted it in my living room, people have spotted it in my bedroom. You can hear it running round. I've been sat on the toilet and seen it running down the hall. I have woke up from a seizure and saw something looking at me. But the weirdest one is on multiple occasions with not just me, but other members of my family have been petting a small brown cat. And as you probably know, I have a small brown cat, right? You've seen it in my videos. She's called Lulu. However, it's not the same brown cat. So multiple occasions, people have been petting Lulu, or so they thought. And then we've looked down and there's been absolutely nothing there. And you can say that I'm making this up, I don't care, because I'm not, right? We've been petting a creature that we thought was the cat. I was looking out of the window at the time, and it was on the windowsill, and I just saw it out the corner of my eye, thought it was the cat, reached out, was petting it for ages, looked down, and I wasn't petting anything, but I felt it. It was there, it was warm, it was furry. Oh, it wasn't Lulu. Lulu was in a different room, asleep. And on many occasions, other people have been to my house and have petted what they thought was Lulu out the corner of their eye. Because, you know, when a cat comes along, you just kind of, you do it absent-mindedly, don't you? You don't need to look straight at the cat to know that there's a cat there. And they've come in and they've said that they've just been petting nothing. And I've said, well, Lulu's been sat on my knee the entire time. So what is it that we see? It's something small. It's brown, it's all the same colour brown, it's like kind of a light tawny colour, and it's got like large orange eyes. But now it's kind of clicked that maybe I do have a brownie in my house. So maybe I should start leaving out some offerings and maybe make it a little house, except I don't have a fireplace or a hearth in my home, so I'm not sure where it'd be. But in upcoming episodes, might make a brownie house, why not? Something to do, isn't it? Obviously, when I started reading about the Boots cat, I was like, oh, ghost cat, Boots cat. Maybe that's what it is. You hear him pitter-pattering around. Sometimes it jumps up on the bed and it's not my cats because the door's shut and they're not in there. So, this has been my household spirits, entities, brownies episode. Not really sure what I'm going to call it yet. It's been an exploration. And if you know about kitchen fairies, oh my god, don't forget the main point of kitchen fairies. If you know about kitchen fairies, please, please, please comment down here of where I can find more information. If they have a different name or something like that, because I need to know. If you're from a country that I haven't mentioned and you have a similar spirit but goes by a different name, then obviously leave that in the comments because I want to know. I like the knowledge. I'm really happy that you decided to join me again. It means so much to me that you're here. Really does. You don't know it, but it does. I really hope to see you again soon. Please follow me, like, subscribe, comment and share this video. That would send me absolutely over the moon, to be honest with you. And please come back next week because I really hope to see you soon. I feel like we're friends now. Bye.